The S&P 500 daily cloud chart shows the lagging line 26 bars back. For Monday, we'll be at 4389.73, and that will be slightly above the bottom of the cloud and current price, but really close to the disqualified by TDST, 4393.57, and that is considered major resistance. And on a pullback, there are two gap zones at this high, 4319.72, and this one 4245.64. Right now, this one at 4245.64 coincides with the baseline for the cloud and current price, so I would call that major support right there. And then the TDST line is major support at 4151.28. And the daily chart is on combo sell count 4. And to negate that for end of day on Monday the 6th, there must be a close below 4193.80 for the price flip to the buy setup count 1. So price has a little bit of wiggle room down to the baseline and the top of this gap zone to still hold on to the sell setup count, but eventually it will need to be higher than this close, as this one will be sell setup count 8. So price would have to be above this close to print the 8. And this one concerns the sell setup count 5, and this one the 6, so that's where the wiggle room is for a couple of days, as it's protected underneath the baseline and possibly the conversion line, which is making a run to get above the static baseline at that level. So a crossover above the baseline by the conversion line would be a very good sign, and add to the support to protect these two bars from closing below their closes and negating the sell setup count. And the sell setup 9 end count needs to print on this run up. If not, and we have the price flip to the buy setup count 1 somewhere in this sequence, then we'll be back to visit this combo by countdown 12 and tick lower and get some closes lower than this bar here, and the 13 will print. And this ongoing supply line was qualified on Friday's price action, had a nice gap up above it and closed above it. So that's qualified. If there's an open higher than this close for Monday and close higher than the close, then it will be qualified and confirmed, and we'll get a supply projection possibly within the cloud here. And this ongoing supply line for Monday is at 4378.25. And the one above it is at 4426.12, and price would need to gap up above this high, 4373.62, and then subsequently close above both of them, and they will both be qualified. And price had the swing point to the upside, anchored at this low over here where the D wave up wave 4 printed and the D wave down wave 5, and that clearly trounced and trumped the ATR4. You can see over here this one was lower than this one. This one was higher than that one. This one was lower than that one. So that 4-bar sequence for ATR4 failed, but this had higher highs, higher lows, higher closes, higher everything. And we got the swing point here. And the D wave, down wave A, did not print like I thought it would after the high from this bar, 4364.08. But if I change the parameters to 12, it will print the A. And so we give that another day and see what happens if we get a tick higher than this high for Monday, higher than 4373.62. It should print the A. And price closed above the 50 simple moving average and is still below the 100 simple moving average at 4403.27 in blue right here. So that adds to the resistance for the buy TDST line here for price to hit. So pretty good resistance up there, let alone hitting the bottom of the cloud, which it did on Friday, just nosed above it slightly and then came back down. And this is the second day that price closed above the upper Stark band, so it's not pushing the envelope up, it's pulling the envelope up. And not too far away from the upper Bollinger Band, 4409.63, so that adds to the resistance in a major way. So we have the Bollinger Band, then the sell TDST line, and the 100-day simple moving average at 4403.27, right below the upper Bollinger Band and right above the sell TDST major resistance there, and let alone the top of the cloud right above all three of those. And the disqualified momentum down bumped up to 4247.80, not really support nor resistance, but it is right there by the cloud baseline for current price, and that means the 50% exhaustion down bumped up to 4121.98, which is support. And the ATM fast trigger up made it above the overbought line, and the ATM trigger slow trigger up made it above the oversold 25 line and started moving up. It's about halfway there to meet the fast trigger above overbought. So let's keep an eye on that to see if it looks like this, where it tried and failed and fell back down to the floor in the basement. And the Shanghai momentum indicator is stubbornly in the negative section, negative 2.74, even on this nice bump up. So I don't like to see that either. So I expect some downside, or definitely major resistance around the TDST line. And this is as good as it gets as a buy signal for REI, DM1, ROC, and DMI plus and minus. REI is above the overbought line, and DM1 finally went above the oversold line, and ROC came off of going sideways below the oversold line and bumped up. So ROC and DM1 are above their oversold, and REI above overbought, and the DMI plus is above the DMI minus. It doesn't get any better than that, but would be cautious from everything that we just looked at. It might be better to wait to see if this turns around on REI and seeks and finds neutral zero first. That's if DM1 and ROC can stay above their oversold lines here, and DM1 is barely above its oversold lines, so definitely cautious tone, even though it looks really good.